Hello, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm your host, Washington Gun Law President and Attorney William Kirk. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, listen, the legislative session in Olympia just wrapped up, and there are some updates I got to give you about what happened down there this year. There were three significant pieces of Second Amendment legislation kicking around in Olympia this year. There was one significant piece of legislation which passed. I want to talk to you about that one and then talk to you about a couple of the ones that didn't make it out of committee this year. But in both instances, it was the second run that they've taken at this. And so I don't think that this is over yet. I think we're going to see a lot more of this legislation in the future. But let's first of all talk about Senate Bill 5038. Senate Bill 5038 did pass out of both the House and the Senate and has been signed into law by Governor Inslee. Senate Bill 5038 makes it a crime to openly carry on the person or in a vehicle a firearm or other weapon if the person is participating in or attending a demonstration in a public place. Essentially, this is a ban on open carry at public demonstrations. The bill would have originally prohibited openly carrying a firearm or other weapon within 1,000 feet of a demonstration in a public place if asked to leave by law enforcement. The legislation was changed in committee, and so the final version of it is the bill also prohibits openly carrying a firearm or other weapon within 250 feet of a demonstration in a public place after law enforcement officer has advised the person to leave the area. In addition to these restrictions, Senate Bill 5038 will also restrict openly carrying on the Capitol grounds in Olympia, primarily the West Campus in Olympia, which, as you know, houses both the House and Senate, the Temple of Justice, where our state Supreme Court, as well as the governor's mansion, and is the area in which predominantly most public demonstrations and protests take place. Based upon Senate Bill 5038, a person now will be prohibited from openly carrying a firearm in that area of the government campus. Now, one of the big concerns that we have about Senate Bill 5038 and its passage is that, as many of you lawful and responsible gun owners in Washington State are aware, there is a huge backlog right now to obtain concealed pistol licenses. Most police departments technically would not be able to function at full capacity until we get to Governor Inslee's phase 4, whenever that might be. And certainly local law enforcement agencies, predominantly in the Puget Sound region, have used this pandemic as an opportunity to delay thousands and thousands of CPL applications. I have an individual who I do work with who in February finally got scheduled for fingerprinting. That will occur in August. So you have also thousands of new gun owners in this state, and many people wanting to go out and voice their political beliefs through peaceful protesting. Unfortunately, these individuals cannot conceal carry because they do not have a valid CPL at the current time. And in this situation, they would not be allowed to open carry as well. And as we are aware, there is at least one political movement here in the Pacific Northwest, or at least they claim to be a political movement, but really they have no desire other than to inflict violence and property destruction on anyone else who's actually out there lawfully and peacefully protesting. So this certainly creates a safety concern for many people who want to engage in their First Amendment rights, because they are now precluded from utilizing their Second Amendment rights to protect themselves. There were two other pieces of legislation that didn't really get out of committee this year, but I want to make you aware of both of them, because these two pieces of legislation, this is the second time that they have kicked around in Olympia and will not be the last time. They were both sponsored by Attorney General Ferguson, and so I see no reason why he will not push this agenda again next legislative session. Senate Bill 5078 with companion bill House Bill 1164 was a high capacity magazine ban. The legislation as it was originally written would have banned any magazine that held more than 10 rounds. In committee, the legislation was changed and the limit was up to 17 rounds. So the legislation as it was finally drafted was it would restrict any magazine holding more than 17 rounds. That legislation fortunately died in committee and did not go anywhere. But as I mentioned earlier, this is the second year in a row that this legislation is kicked around, and experience has shown that this will not be the last time. I anticipate seeing it back on the docket again next year. The other piece of legislation, which was equally concerning, was Senate Bill 5217 and House Bill 1129. That would have been a complete ban of all semi-automatic rifles, ARs in all formats, AK-47s in all formats, AK-74s in all formats, and any other imaginable semi-automatic rifle would have been banned had Senate Bill 5217 or House Bill 1129 been passed into law. What's really interesting about the way this legislation was drafted is it, while it would have grandfathered all of you who currently possess AR platformed rifles, upon your death, those guns would not be able to be passed down to your heirs. And so it was a way of slowly removing all of these firearms from Washington residents. I think that this legislation will kick around again, and I would encourage any of you who have a collection of firearms, certainly a collection of semi-automatic rifles, those of you who enjoy the AR platform, to seriously consider taking a look at gun trusts and how to make sure that your children or whoever you wish to have those firearms after your time has passed continue to be able to enjoy their Second Amendment rights through the use of those firearms. Well, that's the legislative update for this year's legislative session. As mentioned, only one piece of legislation made it out of committee through both houses and to the governor's desk, but it is a significant piece of legislation that, in the views of Washington gun law, significantly limits the Second Amendment rights of its citizens, especially those who are attempting to enjoy the fruits of their First Amendment rights. Listen, you have made a lot more questions about your rights and obligations as a lawful and responsible gun owner in Washington State. Don't hesitate to give us a call here at 425-765-0487. You can always email me directly at william@washingtongunlaw.com, or of course, feel free to visit us at washingtongunlaw.com. Listen, part of being the responsible and lawful gun owner that we preach here at Washington Gun Law is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in every instance that you may find yourself. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to give us a call. In the meantime, stay safe, and thanks for watching Washington Gun Law TV.